The alien woman lay among twisted metal and burning wreckage. Her silver ship, once bright like a star, now lay broken across the dark forest. The night was filled with smoke, fire, and the sharp smell of burning fuel. Pieces of the craft still hissed as rain began to fall, but it was too late. Everything was gone. Everyone was gone. Her breathing was slow. The oxygen tank on her back had cracked when the ship hit the ground. Blue liquid leaked from the wound in her side, her blood glowing faintly in the dark. Her body armor was torn, her hair wet with ash, her eyes half open. She had no strength left to move. She whispered in her alien tongue, "So this is how I die, on a strange world far from home." The rain fell harder, washing the dirt and blood from her pale skin. She stared at the sky through the shattered window of her helmet. The stars above looked strange, too many, too cold. Her people had fled through the stars, searching for new life, new planets, and new power. But now here she was, alone on this unknown planet called Earth. Her vision blurred, her body shivered as her energy faded. She remembered her mother's voice telling her that warriors never cry, but she felt tears anyway. They mixed with the rain on her face. She closed her eyes and let the darkness take her. But then something touched her arm. It was warm. Her weak mind tried to understand. Was this death? A final dream before the end? No, this was something real. Someone was there. A voice came through the storm, deep, human, full of fear and determination. Hey, stay with me. Don't close your eyes." Her heart jumped. That voice didn't belong to her kind. It was rough, broken, full of emotion. She felt hands on her shoulders, strong but gentle. The human was trying to lift her. She tried to move her head, but pain shot through her chest. She gasped. "Easy, easy," the human said softly. "You're hurt bad. But you're alive." She blinked slowly, trying to focus her eyes. Through her cracked visor, she saw a man's face. He had short dark hair, a scruffy beard, and tired eyes. His clothes were torn, his hands covered in dirt. But his eyes were calm, warm. He looked down at her and said, "You're gonna be okay. I got you." Her translator implant took a moment before his words made sense. But when they did, she tried to speak. "You are human?" "Yeah," he said, nodding. "Name's Eli. I'm not here to hurt you." She stared at him, confused. Humans were supposed to hate her kind. The last reports from her ship said humans were dangerous, cruel, and violent. Yet here he was, risking his life to help her. The ground shook suddenly. A loud buzzing filled the air. Eli looked up. The alien woman's ship had activated its self-defense drones, small machines shaped like metal insects searching for survivors to eliminate. Eli cursed under his breath. "We gotta move, now." He lifted her carefully, placing her arm around his shoulder. She was light but weak. Her body trembled with every step. "Why, help me," she whispered. "Because you're alive," he said simply. The forest ahead was dark and full of smoke. The orange glow of the burning wreck lit their path. Behind them, the drones buzzed closer, scanning the area with red lights. "Danger," she whispered, her voice weak. "They will kill you." "Not today," Eli muttered. He carried her through the mud and rain, his boots splashing through puddles, his breath heavy. The weight on his shoulder grew heavier with each step, but he didn't stop. The alien woman watched him through half-closed eyes. His heartbeat was strong. His warmth spread through her cold body. For a moment she forgot she was supposed to be his enemy. Then a bright red beam cut through the trees behind them. One of the drones had spotted them. Eli turned, pulling a small rifle from his back. He fired once, then again. Sparks flew as the drone exploded, lighting the night like a flash of lightning. He didn't celebrate. He just ran faster. Finally, they reached a cave hidden under a fallen cliff. Eli pushed aside heavy rocks and guided her inside. The space was dry, dark, and quiet. He set her down gently and tore open a small pack. Inside were bandages, a flashlight, and a few small tools. He looked at her again. "You're safe for now." She stared at him with tired eyes. "Why do this?" He smiled weakly. "Because no one deserves to die alone." For a long moment, neither spoke. Only the sound of rain outside filled the silence. The alien woman looked at him and whispered, "My people said humans are monsters." Eli looked up from his bandages and said quietly, "Maybe some are, but not all." She wanted to answer, but her eyes grew heavy again. As she slipped into sleep, her last thought was strange and confusing. For the first time in her life, she felt safe. In the arms of a human. Outside, unseen by both of them, a red drone light flashed through the forest, scanning, searching. The hunt had only just begun. The morning came gray and cold. The forest was silent except for the sound of dripping rain. Smoke still floated through the air from the crashed alien ship miles away. Inside the cave, Eli sat near a small fire, cleaning his gun. The alien woman lay on a blanket beside him, breathing softly. Her silver armor had been removed, and under it, her skin glowed faintly blue like light underwater. He watched her carefully, unsure if she was healing or dying. He had seen aliens before during the war, but none like her. She looked peaceful, not a soldier, not a killer, just lost. When she finally opened her eyes, the firelight reflected in them like tiny stars. "Where am I?" she whispered. "You're safe," Eli said. "At least for now." She tried to sit up but groaned in pain. Eli helped her lean against the cave wall. Her wound had been wrapped, but her body was still weak. "Why did you save me?" she asked again, her voice soft but steady this time. Eli looked down at his hands. "Because someone should." She didn't understand his words completely, but his tone felt honest. In her world, no one helped without reason. Yet this human had risked death for her. Suddenly, a loud humming sound echoed outside the cave. The ground vibrated slightly. Her eyes widened. "Drones. They are close." Eli froze, listening. Then he grabbed his pack and his weapon. "Can you walk?" She nodded weakly. Yes, he helped her stand. She swayed for a second, but he held her steady. Then they moved toward the back of the cave where a narrow tunnel led out through the rocks. Behind them, red scanning lights flashed against the cave walls. The drones were near. Eli whispered, "Stay quiet." They moved through the narrow tunnel, crawling through mud and sharp stones. Each breath felt heavier. The alien woman's glowing blood left faint trails on the walls, and Eli noticed it. "Your blood. It glows," he said. "Yes," she whispered. "It carries energy, but it can also be tracked." Eli's heart sank. "Then they can find us through it." She nodded slowly. "They will not stop." Outside, the forest was darker now. The rain had turned to mist. Old buildings stood nearby, ruins from before the war covered in vines and moss. Windows shattered, streets broken. Eli helped her across the cracked ground, leading her into an old subway tunnel hidden under rubble. It smelled of rust and dust. "This used to be a city," Eli said quietly, "before everything burned." The alien woman looked around at the faded walls and broken signs. "My people did this?" Eli didn't answer. His silence was enough. She lowered her head. "We were told humans attacked first, that we were defending ourselves." Eli gave a small, sad laugh. "Every side says that." For a few moments, they just walked in silence through the empty tunnel. The dripping of water echoed like slow heartbeats. Then a sound came from behind, a faint metallic click. Eli turned fast, aiming his rifle. A small drone hovered in the darkness, its red eye glowing. "Run!" he shouted. The alien woman moved as fast as her weak body allowed. Eli fired twice. Sparks filled the tunnel as the drone exploded, but more followed. The air was filled with buzzing and red lights. They ran through the tunnel until they reached an old door. Eli kicked it open and pulled her inside. They stumbled into a small underground room filled with human machines, old and dusty. She looked around. "What is this place?" "My hideout," Eli said, catching his breath. "Used to be a rescue shelter during the war." The alien woman saw strange tools, broken helmets, and walls covered with maps. Some of the maps showed alien ship routes and human evacuation zones. She turned to him, her voice shaking. You fought in the war?" Eli nodded slowly. "Yeah, I did. But I didn't fight to kill. I fought to save who I could." Her gaze softened. "Even aliens?" "Even aliens," he said simply. Outside, the humming returned. Eli moved to a console, switching on an old screen. "They found us again. They're scanning the surface." The alien woman stepped closer, her eyes glowing brighter. "There is one way to stop them, but it will hurt you." "What do you mean?" he asked. She took his hand and placed it on her chest. He could feel her heartbeat, fast and powerful. "My blood can hide us. I can mask our energy for a short time. But it will take my strength." Eli stared at her, surprised. "You'll die." "Maybe," she whispered. "But if I don't, you will." Eli hesitated only for a moment before nodding. Then let's do it. She closed her eyes, whispering strange words in her alien tongue. The room glowed blue for a second, then dimmed. Outside, the drone sounds faded away. Eli looked at her, her body trembling, her breathing weak. You saved us. Her lips curved into a faint smile. Now we are even. Eli shook his head. No, now we're just getting started. The camera would fade out on the flickering blue light as both of them stood together in the shadows. Two survivors from different worlds, bound by something neither of them yet understood. And outside, beyond the clouds, a massive alien ship moved silently in orbit, scanning the surface of Earth. The real danger had only just begun. The night outside the bunker was quiet, but inside, the air felt heavy. The old machines hummed softly, their lights blinking like sleepy eyes. Eli sat near a metal table, fixing a broken transmitter with his rough hands. The alien woman rested on a makeshift bed made from old blankets and wires. Her breathing was slow but steady. For the first time since the crash, there was peace. Eli looked over at her. Even in sleep, she looked otherworldly. Her skin shimmered faintly, her hair glowing silver under the dull light. She didn't look like a monster. She looked fragile, lost. He whispered under his breath, "What the hell am I doing?" He had seen what her kind could do. They had burned cities, destroyed ships, erased millions. And yet when he saw her lying there in the wreckage, something inside him refused to walk away. Maybe it was guilt. Maybe it was hope. The sound of her voice broke his thoughts. "You talk to yourself a lot," she said softly, her eyes half open. Eli chuckled. "Yeah, no one else to talk to most days." She sat up slowly, wincing at the pain in her side. "You are alone?" "Most people are these days," he replied. She looked around the bunker. There were photos on the wall, faded images of people in uniform smiling before the war. One photo showed Eli standing with 5 others. They looked young and proud. She pointed to the picture. "Who are they?" Eli turned away for a moment before answering. "My team, rescue unit, not fighters. We went in after battles to pull out survivors." "Human survivors?" she asked. He shook his head slowly. "Not just humans." Her eyes widened slightly. "You saved aliens too?" Eli smiled, but it was a sad smile. "When the war started, they told us to kill anything not human. But I couldn't. I saw scared faces, just like ours. So I saved whoever I could." She studied him for a long moment. In her world, mercy was weakness. But here, this human carried kindness like a weapon. It made no sense, yet it made her heart ache. "Your people must have hated you for that," she said quietly. He looked down. Yeah, they did. For a while, neither spoke. The silence between them was heavy but calm. Outside, thunder rolled far away. The storm was returning. Then she asked softly, "Why do you live here? Underground, alone?" Eli hesitated. "Because I made mistakes." He stood and walked to a corner of the room. He opened a metal box and pulled out an old helmet. It was alien, her people's design. Scars and burns marked its surface. "My team died because I trusted an alien once," he said quietly. "We tried to save a group of civilians. It was a trap. They blew up the extraction zone." Her chest tightened. "I'm sorry." "Not your fault," he said, but his eyes looked far away. "After that, I left. Couldn't fight anymore. Couldn't trust anyone." She looked at the helmet in his hands, then at him. "And yet you trusted me." He met her eyes. "Maybe I'm a fool. Or maybe I just didn't want to see another person die when I could stop it." She didn't know what to say. His words hit her heart like soft lightning, warm and painful at once. Suddenly, a soft beeping came from the wall. Eli rushed to the console. The radar screen showed movement above ground. "What is it?" she asked, tense. Eli's face hardened. "Scouts. They found us again." The alien woman closed her eyes, sensing the air. "Yes, 3 drones. They are armed." Eli grabbed his rifle. "Then we end this." He handed her a small metal device. "Can you use this?" She studied it for a second, then nodded. "A pulse grenade." "I know it." They moved to the entrance tunnel, crouched behind broken pipes. The faint red glow of the drones filled the passage. "On my mark," Eli whispered. He fired first. 2 sharp shots that echoed through the tunnel. Sparks flew as one drone fell. The other shot back, beams slicing through the darkness. Eli ducked, shouting, "Now!" The alien woman threw the grenade. A bright flash lit the tunnel, followed by a wave of silence. The drones dropped to the ground like stones. Smoke filled the air. Eli coughed and looked at her. "Nice throw," she smiled faintly. "For someone dying, I still have aim." He laughed softly, shaking his head. "You're tougher than most soldiers I knew." She looked at him seriously. "Eli, my people will come for me. If they find me with you, they will kill you." He met her gaze without fear. "Then they'll have to go through me first." Something changed in her expression. The walls between them began to crack. For the first time, she didn't see a human enemy. She saw someone who cared even when the universe told him not to. Outside, the storm raged again, thunder shaking the earth. She whispered, "My name is Lyra." Eli smiled softly. "Lyra," he repeated, as if the name itself was light in the dark. Lightning flashed through the cracks above, and their shadows merged on the bunker wall. Human and alien standing together side by side. Neither of them knew it yet, but that single moment of trust would change the fate of both their worlds. And far above, beyond the clouds, a message pulsed through space. "Survivor detected. Target reacquired." The hunt was not over. It was only beginning. The storm howled over the ruins as if the sky itself was angry. Rain hammered the broken earth. Lightning flashed through the night and thunder rolled like a warning. Deep beneath the ground, inside the old human bunker, Eli and Lyra prepared for what was coming. The radar screen blinked again and again, showing moving red dots closing in from all sides. Eli muttered, "They found us for real this time." Lyra stood near the doorway, her silver eyes glowing faintly in the dark. The wound on her side had almost healed, but her body still trembled with weakness. She held a strange alien weapon that hummed with blue light. "They sent hunters," she whispered. "Not machines this time, soldiers." Eli tightened his grip on his rifle. "Then we give them a fight they won't forget." For a moment there was silence, just the soft sound of rain dripping through cracks in the ceiling. Then came a deep vibration under the ground. The walls rattled. Dust fell from above. "They're digging through," Eli said, scanning the ceiling. "They'll break in any second." Lyra closed her eyes. She could feel their energy signatures above. 3 alien gunships and at least 10 troopers, her own people. But now they were her enemies. She opened her eyes and whispered, "They are here for me, not you." "You should run." Eli looked at her as if she had said something foolish. "Not happening." "You don't understand," she said urgently. "If they find you protecting me, they will burn this place down. You'll die." Eli's eyes were calm. "Maybe, but I'm not leaving you." Before she could argue, the roof exploded. The shockwave threw them both back as smoke and dust filled the bunker. Blue lights flashed through the cracks, followed by the sound of boots hitting the metal floor. Alien voices echoed through the chamber, cold and mechanical. "Target located. Human presence detected. Eliminate interference." Eli coughed, then lifted his weapon. "Showtime." The first alien trooper dropped through the hole, armored and tall, carrying a plasma blade. Eli fired instantly. The bullet hit the trooper's chest, throwing sparks. The alien stumbled but didn't fall. Then Lyra raised her arm. A blue pulse burst from her palm, slamming into the trooper like a thunderbolt. The air rippled and the alien flew backward, crashing into the wall. 2 more dropped in, the room filled with flashing lights and heat. Eli ducked behind a table, firing burst after burst. Lyra crouched beside him, creating a glowing shield that deflected beams of energy. Eli glanced at her. "That's a neat trick," she smirked weakly. "Don't get used to it." "I can't hold it long." The shield flickered as another blast hit. Eli tossed her a grenade. "Then let's make it count." She caught it, pressed the button, and threw it toward the attackers. The explosion shook the room, sending fragments of armor flying. Silence followed. Smoke curled around them. Eli breathed hard. "You okay?" Lyra nodded, though her hands trembled. "They won't stop. They'll send more." He looked at her, his voice low. "Then we run again." "Come on." They grabbed what little they could and escaped through a back tunnel. The narrow passage twisted for miles beneath the ground, leading to the old city ruins above. When they finally emerged, the storm had calmed, but the night was still heavy. The city lay silent, half buried, half burning from old wars. Eli led her through the broken streets, stepping over debris and fallen signs. "There's an old military shelter near the river. We can hide there." Lyra walked beside him, her bare feet silent on the wet ground. She looked up at the dark sky, where faint blue lights blinked among the clouds. "They're scanning," she whispered. "They can track my energy." Eli frowned. "Then how do we stop that?" She hesitated before answering. "My blood carries a signal. Every soldier has it. I can block it, but it will cost me strength. Do it, Eli said without hesitation. Lyra stared at him. You don't even ask what will happen to me? He shook his head. You've already saved me twice. My turn to believe in you. Her heart ached at his words. No one had ever said something like that to her. Not from her world, not from any world. She took a deep breath, then pressed her palm to her chest. The mark on her skin glowed brighter and brighter until it turned white. The air around her shimmered. The sound of the scanners faded away. Then she fell forward. Eli caught her before she hit the ground. Lyra! She was breathing but weak, her skin pale, her pulse faint. Don't worry, she whispered. They can't find us now. Eli lifted her in his arms again and looked at the dark sky. Then let's make it worth it. He carried her toward the old river bridge, his boots echoing on the wet stone. Lightning flashed in the distance, revealing the shape of alien ships far above, circling slowly like vultures. Lyra opened her eyes just long enough to see the glow of his face through the rain. You fight like no human I've ever known, Eli smiled softly. And you care like no alien I've ever met. Her eyes closed again, a faint smile on her lips. Behind them, far in the ruins, one of the alien troopers stirred, half broken but alive. He pressed a button on his wrist, sending a signal skyward. Coordinates locked. Target alive! Pursuit continues, the hunt was far from over. But something had changed. Now it was not just the aliens hunting an enemy. It was humanity fighting for one of their own. The sun rose slowly over the dead city, turning the sky from black to pale gold. The light fell across broken towers, rusted cars, and streets covered in dust. Nature had started to take back what humans had lost. Vines crawling up concrete, trees growing through cracks, birds nesting inside hollow buildings. Eli and Lyra moved carefully through the ruins. Every sound echoed like a whisper from the past. Lyra walked beside him, still weak from using her power the night before. Her once bright armor was dull and cracked, her glowing blood hidden under layers of makeshift cloth. But her eyes were alive again. She looked around at the strange human city with quiet wonder. Your world, she said softly. It was beautiful once, Eli nodded. Yeah, before the war. They stopped beside a broken fountain where still water reflected the pale morning sky. Eli knelt, filling a small bottle. The water was dirty, but it was all they had. Lyra watched him. Why didn't you rebuild it? He looked up at her, a shadow crossing his face. We tried. But after everything burned, people stopped believing in tomorrow. Her heart sank a little. So they gave up? Some did, he said. Others are still fighting to make something better. But it's slow, and the world's tired. Lyra walked closer to the fountain and dipped her fingers into the cold water. She watched the ripples spread out, touching the cracked edges. In my world, weakness means death. Your people, they survive through hope. That is something my kind never understood. Eli looked at her curiously. What about you? Did you believe in hope? She smiled sadly. No, I believed in orders. They continued walking through the city. The wind whistled through the empty streets, carrying the faint sound of metal creaking somewhere far away. Every now and then, Eli would stop and check the sky. Alien ships still floated above the clouds, silent, waiting. He led her into an old marketplace where faded signs hung above shattered glass doors. Inside one of the shops, shelves still stood, half covered in dust. Eli broke open a box and found sealed cans of food. He grinned. Guess humans used to eat anything in a can. Lyra raised an eyebrow. Even now you do. Eli laughed quietly. You're not wrong. They sat together on the floor, sharing the strange human meal. Lyra watched him eat and mimicked his movements, though the taste was strange to her. She smiled faintly. Salty, dry, but not bad. He handed her some water. You're learning fast. She tilted her head. I learn what I must to live. The moment felt small but peaceful. For a few minutes, it almost felt like the war didn't exist. Then a low hum broke the calm. A shadow passed across the cracked window. Eli's face hardened instantly. Ship, he said. Lyra stood, her eyes glowing again. They found us? He looked at the radar on his wrist. No, it's not them. Something bigger. They ran outside. In the distance, a huge alien warship was descending through the clouds. It was not searching, it was preparing. Lyra's heart froze. That is a cleansing ship. Eli turned to her. What does that mean? She swallowed hard. It means they are not here to capture me anymore. They are here to erase everything. He stared at her, disbelief in his eyes.
Erase Earth?
Yes, she whispered. My people believe this world is infected with humans. They will burn it clean from orbit. Eli clenched his fists. So they're planning genocide. Lyra nodded. In less than 2 days. The words hung heavy in the air. For a long time, neither of them spoke. The city around them felt even emptier, like a ghost waiting to fade. Finally, Eli broke the silence. Then we stopped them. Lyra turned to him, shocked.
Stop them?
Eli, they have a fleet. You have nothing. He looked out at the burning horizon. I have you. She stared at him, lost for words. No one had ever said that to her before. Not from her race, not from any world. He continued, voice low but strong. There's an old satellite tower north of here, still connected to the deep space network. If we can reach it, maybe we can send a message, show your people what they're really destroying. Her heart pounded. They will not listen. Maybe not, he said, turning toward her, but someone might. Lyra took a deep breath. The logic in her mind told her he was being foolish. But the warmth in her chest, the strange human feeling she had begun to understand, told her he was right. Then we go, she said. Eli smiled faintly. Good, but it's a long way. You sure you're up for it? Lyra straightened her back. I have followed war commands across 100 planets. I can follow one human through his own world. As they began to walk north, the wind blew through the empty city, carrying dust and memories. Eli glanced at her as they moved through the broken streets. You know, Lyra, maybe your people were wrong about us, she looked at him, and maybe yours were wrong about us. For the first time, they both smiled at the same time. But high above, the alien cleansing ship opened its lower panels. Blue energy glowed within its core, spreading across the clouds like lightning veins. In the next 48 hours, Earth would either rise again or vanish forever. And only one human and one alien stood between the two fates. The wind howled across the barren plains as Eli and Lyra moved toward the old satellite tower. The structure rose in the distance like a broken finger pointing at the sky, its surface covered in rust and vines. Once it had been part of Earth's communication network. Now it was a forgotten monument in a dead world. They had been walking for hours. Their clothes were soaked with sweat and dust clung to their faces. The air smelled of metal and ash. Eli stopped for a moment, resting his hands on his knees. We're close, he said, breathing hard. Just another mile. Lyra looked up at the tower, her eyes glowing faintly. It's old, but I can feel power still sleeping inside. Good, Eli said. Then we wake it up. When they reached the base of the tower, they found the control building half buried in debris. Eli cleared the entrance with a crowbar, while Lyra used her energy pulse to melt through the remaining locks. Inside, dust filled the air like smoke. Broken screens, twisted wires, and silent consoles filled the room. Eli dropped his pack and started connecting cables. If I can get the generator running, we can send a signal through orbit. Lyra watched him work, amazed by how calm he seemed. You do not fear the fleet? Eli shrugged. Fear doesn't stop me. Never did, she smiled faintly. Humans are strange, he grinned. We get that a lot. When he powered the generator, the entire building shook. Old lights flickered to life and static filled the screens. A faint hum ran through the metal floor. The tower outside began to glow weakly, its dish turning slowly toward the clouds. Lyra moved closer to the main console. I can boost the signal with my energy. My body can connect directly with the transmitter. Eli frowned. You sure it's safe? It's not, she admitted. But it will work. Before he could stop her, Lyra placed her glowing hand on the metal console. Sparks of blue light spread from her fingertips, dancing across the surface. The old machine groaned, then came fully alive. The static on the screens turned into symbols, her people's language. Eli stepped closer. It's working. Lyra nodded, her voice shaking slightly. They will hear us now. She began to speak in her alien tongue, sending a message across the stars. This is Commander Lyra of the 4th Fleet. I request immediate ceasefire. Earth is no longer an enemy world. Humanity is broken, not hostile. I repeat, halt the cleansing. The console buzzed. For a few seconds there was only static. Then a cold voice answered through the speakers. Commander Lyra, you are alive. Lyra froze. She recognized that voice. It belonged to General Kale. her former superior, the one who had ordered the cleansing. "I am alive," she said, steady but tense. "And I have seen the truth. The humans are not monsters. They are survivors." The voice grew sharper. "You speak treason." Eli's hand moved to his weapon instinctively. He didn't understand the alien words, but the tone said enough. Lyra raised her voice. "Listen to me, Kale. If you continue this attack, you will destroy a world that could be our ally." "Silence," the general's voice thundered. "You are infected by their weakness. You will be erased with them." The console sparked violently. Lyra gasped as a surge of energy ran up her arm. Eli rushed to her, pulling her hand away from the metal. She fell against him, breathing hard. They traced the signal." Eli looked at the screen. Red warnings flashed across the display. "They know where we are." Outside, the sky turned darker. A shadow passed over the plains as a massive alien ship broke through the clouds. Its engines roared like thunder. Lyra clutched Eli's arm. "We have to go now." He shook his head. "No, if we run, they'll still burn the planet." "We finish this." She stared at him, disbelief in her eyes. "You would die for my world?" He looked at her quietly. "You didn't die for yours." For a moment, neither spoke. Only the deep hum of the ship above filled the silence. Then Lyra stepped forward and placed her hand on his chest. "If this is the end, then we face it together." Eli smiled faintly. "Wouldn't have it any other way." They turned back to the console. Eli grabbed the manual override and shouted, "If we can overload the signal, maybe we can send one last message before they hit us." Lyra nodded, connecting her energy once more. The lights blazed brighter and brighter. The tower outside glowed like a beacon, firing a beam of blue light straight into the sky. The alien fleet above began to react. Fighters broke formation, diving toward the tower. The earth trembled as plasma fire lit the air. Inside the control room, Lyra screamed as the power surged through her. Eli tried to pull her back, but she shook her head. "Don't. I can hold it." Her voice echoed through the system, reaching far across the stars. "Humanity is not our enemy. They fight for life. They protect even those who hate them. Listen to me." The beam reached its peak and then exploded in a burst of light. When the smoke cleared, Eli was on the ground, coughing. The console was destroyed. Lyra lay beside him, motionless. He pulled her into his arms. "Lyra, stay with me. Come on." Her eyes fluttered open weakly. "Did they hear me?" Eli looked up at the sky. The ships had stopped firing. For the first time, the fleet hung still, as if confused. "Yeah," he whispered. "I think they did." She smiled faintly, closing her eyes. "Then maybe there's hope." Eli held her tightly as the tower burned behind them, its beam fading into the clouds like a dying star. The tower was gone. Only smoke and fire remained, rising like a scar into the morning sky. The wind carried the smell of burning metal and the quiet hum of engines from far above. The alien fleet hovered in silence, waiting for orders that never came. Eli sat on the cracked ground, holding Lyra in his arms. Her body was weak, her silver skin pale under the ashes. The faint glow around her chest flickered, like a candle fighting to stay alive. He brushed the dust from her face. "Stay with me, Lyra. You did it. You sent the message." Her lips moved faintly. "They heard?" "Yeah," Eli said softly. "You made them listen." She smiled weakly. "Then, it was worth it." He shook his head, his voice rough. "Don't say that. You're not done yet." She looked at him, eyes half open. "My energy is gone. I used everything." Eli pressed his forehead against hers, his voice trembling. "Then use my strength. You said once your blood connects life. Take mine." Lyra's eyes widened. "No, human blood cannot hold my energy. It would kill you." "Better me than you," he said quietly. She gave a small, tired laugh. "Humans, always trying to save others, even when you're breaking." Before Eli could answer, the ground trembled. A beam of blue light split the clouds. A voice echoed from above, cold, mechanical, full of command. "Commander Lyra, you are charged with betrayal. Prepare for cleansing." Eli looked up and saw a new ship descending. It was larger than the others, black and shining like glass. The command ship. He stood, pulling Lyra up with him. "Then we make them see the truth the hard way." Lyra leaned against him, her legs trembling. "There is no weapon strong enough to stop that ship." Eli's eyes narrowed. "Maybe not to stop it, but maybe to show them what it means to be human." He turned toward the remains of the tower. Beneath the rubble, one of the power cores was still pulsing faintly. If I overload the reactor, it'll blow. Big enough to take that ship with it. Lyra's eyes widened. You'll die. He smiled faintly. Guess I'm not great at running away. She grabbed his hand tightly. Eli, no. There must be another way. He looked at her, eyes steady. You said once your people respect strength and sacrifice. Then maybe they'll understand this. Lyra's voice broke. Eli, please. He placed a hand on her cheek. You gave me hope again. Let me give you a future. Tears filled her eyes, glowing like liquid stars. Then let me do it with you. Eli shook his head. You already did enough. But Lyra stepped closer, her hand glowing faintly. You forget something. I'm stubborn too. Before he could argue, she touched his chest. A warm light spread through him, her energy merging with his heart for a moment. Now we share this choice, she whispered. The sound of engines grew louder. The alien command ship hovered directly above them, its shadow covering the ruins. Eli looked up. Then let's end this. They moved together toward the broken tower base. Sparks still danced across the floor. Eli knelt beside the reactor, twisting wires and connecting circuits. The old machine groaned, lights flashing red. Lyra placed her hand on the reactor's core. Her blue glow mixed with the red light until the whole chamber shimmered like dawn. Once it starts, there's no stopping it, Eli said. Lyra nodded. Then let it be our signal to the stars. The countdown began. 30 seconds. Outside, alien drones surrounded the ruins. The command ship's voice thundered again. Step away or be destroyed. Eli looked at Lyra. Guess they don't get it. She smiled softly. They will. The reactor light grew brighter. The sound became deafening. Lyra turned to him one last time. When I first saw you, I thought humans were weak. Now I see you fight not for power, but for love. Eli smiled faintly. And I thought aliens had no heart. Guess we were both wrong. He took her hand, fingers locking with hers. Together? She nodded. Together. The reactor exploded. A blinding wave of blue light spread across the land, reaching the sky, touching the clouds and painting them with fire. The alien ships froze mid-air as their scanners filled with strange readings. The command ship cracked, its engines failing. But before it could crash, the explosion's energy transformed, turning into a pure pulse of light that expanded outward like a heartbeat. It was not destruction. It was a message. Across the alien fleet, radios filled with Lyra's voice echoing through every channel. Life is not weakness. Mercy is not failure. Humanity fights because it loves. If you still have a heart. Listen, the ship stopped firing. The sky grew silent. Moments later, one by one, the alien vessels began to turn away, pulling back through the clouds, retreating into the stars. When the light faded, the tower was gone. Only a crater remained, glowing faintly with blue light. From that crater rose a faint hologram, recorded by the tower before the blast. Lyra standing beside Eli, hand in hand, smiling toward the sky. Her final words played softly through the wind. Humanity, still worth saving. High above, in the emptiness of space, the alien fleet carried that message home. And for the first time in generations, they hesitated before starting another war. And on Earth, under a broken sky, two names would be remembered forever. Lyra, the alien who found her heart. Eli, the human who refused to give up. The story of their sacrifice would become a legend whispered across both worlds, that when one alien closed her eyes to die, she opened them to see the heart of humanity,